So back when I was in second grade, I came home from school one day and I told my parents that I could do something that nobody else in the entire class could do. Now, my parents were really excited to hear that because they just knew that I was an exceptional young man. And so they wanted to find out what it was that I could do that nobody else in the entire class could do. And then I told them, I said, I was able to put both big toes in my mouth at the same time. Now, I'm not really sure what motivated me to try that skill. And I could try it right now, but I think Melanie would probably hurt me if I tried to do that right now, so I'm not gonna. But here's the thing. What was interesting was I didn't know any better because I was just a kid, right? I mean, for me, I was pretty excited about that. Nobody else could do it. I didn't know it was gross, right? I mean, it was just something you do. And that boasting made sense for a young kid. I mean, that really did. It made sense for somebody, in second grade to boast about something like that. But you know as well as I do, when we get older and you're around someone that does nothing but boast, it can be a problem. Now, I know a couple weeks ago, I talked about pride. And in some ways, pride and boastfulness are of the same kind of thing, right? I mean, when you're prideful, it can turn to arrogance. When you're boastful, it can just turn into being obnoxious. And sometimes boastfulness begins to make us focus on the wrong things. The wrong things being, how much blessing we have to be able to do some of the things that we can do. And so it reminded me of a passage. It's actually a parable that Jesus tells in Luke chapter 18. He says this. It says that Jesus told this parable to some who trusted in themselves and thought that they were righteous regardless of anything else that they might be able to do. He said, 2 men went up to the temple to pray. One was a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, even this tax collector over there. I think he probably pointed at that point. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, says Jesus, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but those who humble themselves will be exalted. You probably have, or you may have heard that parable before, but that parable, it really focuses on us on the idea that, what we do religiously, the ways in which we live into what God has called us to be and do, I mean, that's a good thing, but it's not something to boast about. We really need to recognize that who we are, who we have been made to be, is truly a blessing by God. And when we don't live into that, it's not our boasting that's ever going to get God's attention. In fact, I was reading a devotional that was based on this passage, and the writer of the devotional said this. He said, Jesus is never upset with sinners. I thought that was kind of interesting. Jesus is never upset with sinners, per se. He's upset with those who don't see themselves as sinners. And then I added, don't see themselves as sinners, but they see other people as sinners as well. I think sometimes we boast because we want to be better than everybody else. But Jesus doesn't care about that. He doesn't want us to be better than everyone else. Jesus wants us to simply be the best that we have been made to be. And what makes us able to do that is the gifts that God gives us, the ability God gives us. So, boastfulness. If you're going to boast in anything at all, Paul says, boast in your weakness. Because when you boast in your weakness, you know that everything you do that's positive is going to be something that God has placed in you.